Hey everybody, everything new under the sun. This is going to be a how to fix your air compressor, and this isn't specific to this Stanley 500 amp air compressor. It can be used for any sort of air compressor, pretty much. But the issue is that the air hose has cracks in it. So this air compressor is a nice Stanley I got from Canadian Tire. It's got a USB and a 12-volt plug, and on the back it's got your air compressor. And these go for about $160 brand new, I think I saw at Canadian Tire. And it's got a big switch on it, basically on and off, and it's got a bicycle pump like end on it with a rubber hose. And this thing is probably 4 or 5 years old, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's cracked all the way through. And if I bend the hose right in half, air actually starts coming out of it. So the issue was that it wouldn't actually blow up any tires, beyond a bicycle tire with low pressure. Basically, it wouldn't go much above 20 psi. It's an LED light on there showing you some features of this particular one, which is I find actually very handy. I go with this in the car with me all the time. So making sure it completely works makes a lot of sense for me, because I do use it mostly for blowing up tires. Actually, it's very handy, much easier than a hand pump. There you can see the cracks there in the hose. So the project is really to replace the hose. Now we have to remove some screws here on the back. I will say off the bat that you can get a new hose for it on eBay, and you can get it from China. Replacement hoses, the standard bicycle pump hose, that kind of fits any bicycle pump, will pretty much work on this, and you can get them for about $3. But the problem is, that's for free shipping. But the problem is they come from China, and they take literally a month to get to your door. So if you don't want to wait a month, you really have no options. You have to pay, go to a store and basically pay, at least $15. Now, what I did was I got a bicycle pump, and I'll pause here and stick that video in. Now, this is your straight up Canadian Tire bottom of the line pump, your basic bicycle pump, super cycle, and it's just a kind of a standard fit thing. It's got the valve on it with the plastic that you push down to clamp on, and it's just a rubber hose. It's not even a metal lined or whatever, or it doesn't even have material around the outside. It's just a plain straight up rubber hose. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and cut that one and use that for this process here. Now I'll speed up the video a little bit because you don't want to see all this operation. Now the screws in the bottom of it, the hole is so small I can't get a screwdriver in, so I ended up just taking the top two screws off and then breaking the rest off. They're just tiny screws, and there's all sorts of dirt in there, obviously. But once you get it off, then we can look inside and get at the air compressor. So turning it around, obviously you see the motor in there, and there actually is supposed to be a little fan that is on the left-hand side, there where my fingers are now. I didn't realize that there's supposed to be a fan on there. It had fallen off, I guess. So you got a little motor that's obviously run by the battery, and the compressor, I'm going to zoom in here in a sec. The compressor is the thing on the top right-hand side, driven by the big gear. And so literally it's just a piston that goes up and down in there and sucks in air from one hole and pushes it out the other side. So I'm going to lighten up this video here as well. Now there are a number of screws to take out. There's 2 screws on either side of the top right, holding the pump down, and there's also 2 screws around the motor. You can see the strap that's metal there, that I'm unscrewing right there, the metal strap. And so basically 4 screws to get the whole mechanism out. And then what we'll be doing is, again, you can see the 2 hoses, the one at the top and the bottom, that will be taken out. So in a sec I'll show you the actual piston movement in there. So as I spin the big gear, obviously you can see the piston rod going up and down, just pushing the piston up and down in the cylinder. And that's literally all it is, just a very simple thing. I don't even know if there was oil in there at one time. It almost looks like it's got some nylon coated walls or something. I did actually go ahead and put a little bit of hair, actually what I had some hair cutting buzzer oil that I actually put in there, which will just help seal it, help it push a bit more air and just grease it up a little bit. So that's one thing you can do to get a little bit more life out of it. So here now I'm actually trying to pull the hose off, and I fight with it for a little while. There's a bunch of loops of metal wire that you can't really see there. I finally got a needle nose plier, got some needle nose pliers, and unwound the wire. Basically, it was quite a struggle to get that off. But then I was able to get the actual hose off, and then at the end I showed that it was all quite cracked there. And like I say, this took a little while to get off. A little bit of doing it. It was probably never meant to come off. It's probably meant to be thrown out. But it is what it is. A little bit of work and you finally get it off. There's the oil I put on there. And now for the oil, I was just putting oil, dripping down as much as I could into the hole there to get it kind of on top of the piston. And that's going to both seal it to help it push air better and lubricate it, give it a few, hopefully a few more years of use. We'll see how it goes. It's a pretty basic setup. It's not like you can buy rings for this piston or anything. And then I was just pouring the oil right down the bottom of the cylinder as well, and turning the motor over just to get that all lubricated in there. So here I've got the new pump. Again, this was just your basic $15 plus tax pump from Canadian Tire. I just unwound the bottom of it just to pull it off. I mean, you could just cut it at this point. And I just did a little inspection. The rest of it I tossed away effectively, gave it to the kids to play with. And on the bottom of it, I just cut the very bottom of it off, because the bottom of it had some sort of a ring that was to fit in the bottom of the pump, basically. So I just cut that off, got a fresh end. And so that guy will slide then right on the compressor motor. And here's the end. It's just your straight up easy on, easy off bicycle pump latch. A lot easier than it was in the days of old where you had to screw things on. So you just slide that on there. Again, it's hard to see, but what I did in the end as well is I put a plastic tie strap around there just to tighten it up to prevent leakage, and it seems to work okay. It's not perfect. It's it's not as good as brand new, but it will pump up a bicycle tire for sure. And it was pumping up just over 40 psi in my test on our truck. So basically here I'm just putting it all back together, putting the screws in, putting the hoses back on. Now my little pressure dial, whatchamacallit, doesn't work very well. It's off by about 5 psi, I think, because the needle has moved, but it still gives you a relative indication of where it's at. Then I put it back together. Now I took out the screws that, remember I had ripped this off last time, so the screws in the bottom were still there. So I took out the extra screws that I didn't need because they were just holding the back panel up at this point. I won't put those back in. I'll probably just screw in some new holes into the side of it. Real hack. Just take my drill and just drill a couple of screws in each side, kind of toenail in each side into the plastic, and that'll probably be good enough for what this is. This is just a hack your jump pack to get it working again sort of thing, to put off getting a brand new pack basically. I don't think glue would work in this case. The only thing really that's going to be strong enough for the banging and smashing is going to be a couple of screws, and like I say, you can't get your screwdriver in the existing holes that are there. But I actually just so far, it's been a couple days since I did, well, I guess a day since I did this, but so far I've just left the top screws on, but I will be doing that. So I got a nice new hose there. It's not as long. Make sure to get a nice long hose, because when you're doing car tires and it's got to reach up to the top of the tire, they come in handy. Now here is, again, sorry for the video, but I just wanted to take a quick look and do a quick test at night, and it was under some LEDs, so the lighting's not ideal, but you get the point. I just basically plugged it into my mountain bike tire, which was absolutely flat at the time. I think it's got a hole in it. But what I was doing was just to see if it would actually pressure up the tire sufficiently, and so that's what I did here. Now again, I think there's a hole in it, and then I go back and forth in the video between the tire and the pressure gauge there, and it did get it up to 20 psi, and I stopped there, and then this is actually where I came and took it back to the house, took it apart, You can see it's near 20 psi there, putting in pressure. So it works. I have resurrected it. It works much better than it did before. Like I say, what I did, that gauge, by the way, is about 5 psi over. What I did after was take it back into the house and just put the plastic strap tie around the bottom of the hose. I just wanted to confirm that it actually worked at all at that point, and it seems to have done it. So anyways, that's it, guys. The rest of the video is just me pumping up. You can see where it was flat before, now it's holding pressure. So that is all good, very good. Saved $160. So anyways, if you want to repair your own, it's certainly easy. If you can wait a month, definitely get a replacement hose off eBay from China, because they're dirt cheap, $3, to get a replacement hose. If you can wait a month. I was too impatient to do that. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helps the next guy, and this is for sort of any compressor that you want to fix. And we'll see you in the next video.
Over.